Okay. नमो विश्वपदाय कृष्ण प्रस्थाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांता स्वामी नितरामने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंद जय अद्वैत चंद्र जय गौर भक्त वृंद जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंद जय अद्वैत चंद्र जय गौर भक्त वृंद जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंद जय अद्वैत चंद्र जय गौर भक्त वृंदम. Reading from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter number 1, text number 261 onwards. Being pleased, the Lord sent Sanatana Goswami back to Vrindavana. After that, he was fed wonderfully by the hands of Sri Advaita Acharya. Text 262. After sending Sanatana Goswami back to Vrindavana, Lord privately consulted with Sri Nityananda Prabhu. He then sent him to Bengal to preach love of Godhead. 263. Soon afterward, Vallabha Bhatta met the Lord at Jagannath Puri, and the Lord explained to him the import of the holy name of Krishna. 264. After explaining the transcendental qualities of Ramananda Raya, the Lord sent Pradyumna Mishra to his residence. And Pradyumna Mishra learned Krishna Katha from him. 265. After this, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saved Gopinatha Patnayaka, the younger brother of Ramananda Raya, from being condemned to death by the king. 266. Ramachandra Puri criticized Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's eating. Therefore, the Lord reduced his eating to a minimum. However, when all the Vaishnavas became very sorry, the Lord increased his portion to half as much as usual. 267. There are 14 planetary systems within the universe, and all living entities reside in those planetary systems. 268. Dressing like human beings on pilgrimage, they all used to come to Jagannath Puri to visit Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. 269. One day, all the devotees, headed by Srivas Thakura, were chanting the transcendental qualities of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. 270. Not liking the chanting of his transcendental qualities, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu chastised them as if he were angry. What kind of chanting is this? He asked. Are you leaving aside the chanting of the holy name of the Lord? 271. Thus, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu chastised all the devotees, telling them not to show impudence and spoil the entire world by becoming independent. 272. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was apparently in an angry mood and chastising his devotees, many thousands of people outside loudly cried in a tumultuous voice, "All glories to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu." 273. All the people began to call very loudly, "All glories to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is the son of Maharaj Nanda. Now you have appeared in order to deliver the whole world." 274. "Oh Lord, we are very unhappy. We come a long distance to see you. Please be merciful and show us your favor." 275. When the Lord heard the humble petition made by the people, his heart softened. Being very merciful, he immediately came out and gave audience to all of them. 276. Raising his arms, the Lord asked everyone to chant loudly the vibration of the holy name of Lord Hari. There immediately arose a great stir, and the vibration of Hari filled all directions. 277. Seeing the Lord, everyone became joyful out of love. Everyone accepted the Lord as the supreme, and thus they offered their prayers. 278. When the people were offering their prayers unto the Lord, Srivas Thakura sarcastically said to the Lord, "At home you wanted to be covered. Why have you exposed yourself outside?" Srivas Thakura continued, "Who has taught these people? What are they saying? Now you can cover their mouths with your own hand." 280. It's as if the sun, after rising, wanted to hide itself. We cannot understand such characteristics in your behavior. 281. The Lord replied, "My dear Srinivasa, please stop joking. You have all combined together to humiliate me in this way." 282. Thus speaking, the Lord entered his room after glancing auspiciously upon the people out of charity. In this way, the desires of the people were completely fulfilled. 283. At this time, Raghunath Dasa approached Sri Nityananda Prabhu and according to his order, prepared a feast and distributed prasadam composed of chipped rice and curd. 284. Later, Sri Raghunath Das Goswami left home and took shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at Jagannath Puri. At that time, the Lord received him and placed him under the care of Swarupa Damodara for spiritual enlightenment. 285. Later, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stopped Brahmananda Bharati's habit of wearing deerskin. The Lord thus enjoyed his pastimes continuously for 6 years, experiencing varieties of transcendental bliss. Text 286. I have thus given a synopsis of the Madhya Lila. Now please hear the pastimes the Lord performed during the last 12 years. 287. Praying at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa and Sri Raghunatha, always desiring their mercy, I, Krishnadasa, narrate Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita following in their footsteps. So let me go back to the first verse for today. Okay. The context for this section today is, remember, I'll quickly do a recap of the sections in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Remember, Chaitanya Charitamrita itself is a scripture with 9 volumes, and we have three separate sections called Adilila, Madhya Lila, and Antya Lila. And the way they're described is, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared on this planet for about 48 years. So when he's here on the planet for 48 years, first 24 years of his life was before sannyas, before taking sannyas. And that period is described in Adilila. Now, out of the next 24 years, most of the time he was staying in Jagannath Puri. This is after accepting sannyasa. Okay, this is the second half of his Lord Chaitanya's life on this planet. So out of those 24 years, first 6 years are described in Madhya Lila, where he traveled towards South India, from Jagannath Puri to Bengal and to Vrindavan, like that. And then out of the last 18 years, which is actually described in Antya Lila, out of the last 18 years. Within that within that 18 years described in Antya Lila, 6 years, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu spent time with many devotees, introducing Prem Bhakti to them by chanting and dancing, like that. That is the section we are covering right now, in the first 6 years of the Antya Lila of 18 years, basically, in this chapter, last set of verses. And then in the second chapter of Madhya Lila, Adar will give a summary of the whole Antya Lila, but the last 12 years of the Antya Lila, basically. Last final 12 years of the Lord Chaitanya. That is where Lord Chaitanya was relishing the pastimes of Krishna in separation, most of the time in isolation, basically, not much. So that is the context. So now we are describing the 6 years within the Antya Lila of 18 years, basically. That's where we are. In that context, Sanatana Goswami came and visited Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and now Lord Chaitanya was pleased with Lord Sanatana Goswami, and he sent him back to Vrindavana, as described. Then remember, all these are synopsis of the whole Antya Lila. That is why we're not here in the whole details, and we're not here in the purports much, actually. So 261 verse is describing that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also was fed prasadam wonderfully by the hands of Sri Advaita Acharya also. Actually, there are many pastimes in Chaitanya Charitamrita that describe about Lord Chaitanya eating prasadam offered by Advaita Acharya, Jagadananda Pandit, like that, different devotees, Damodara, Raghava Pandit, like that. So many devotees offered prasadam, Sarvam Bhattacharya. That pastimes will come up later on. In fact, Krishnadas Goswami also describes like recipes for most of them. Recipe, this is not necessarily 1 cup this, 1 cup that, like that, but what are the ingredients inside it, like that. So now 262, after sending Sanatana Goswami to Vrindavan, the Lord privately consulted with Nityananda Prabhu, it seems. So this is the pastime where Lord Chaitanya orders Nityananda Prabhu to go to Bengal and preach love of Godhead, to give Krishna Prema to everyone. This is the reason Nityananda Prabhu used to be in Bengal while Lord Chaitanya was in Jagannath Puri during this time. But remember, every year for the Chaturmasa season for last 4 months, like we are also in Chaturmasa now, the devotees in Bengal, including Nityananda Prabhu, used to come to Jagannath Puri and then spend time with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his association. And they used to attend Radha Yatra and then they go back like that. So now 263 is describing that after that, Lord Chaitanya met Vallabha Bhatta. In the purport, this is one of the few verses, there is a purport by Prabhupada. So purport, in the purport he explains who is Vallabha Bhatta. Vallabha Bhatta is the head of the Vaishnava Sampradaya known as Vallabhacharya Sampradaya. Prabhupada is writing like that. And this is popular in Western India, it seems. Western India means like Mumbai, that side. It's popular in Western India, Vallabhacharya Sampradaya. So when this Vallabhacharya, remember, we know about the 4 Vaishnava Sampradayas, bona fide Sampradayas. One of them is Brahma Sampradaya, from which we are in also. And the next one is from Lakshmi Devi, that's called Sri Sampradaya. Next one is from 4 Kumaras, that's called Kumara Sampradaya. Another one is from Lord Shiva, it's called Rudra Sampradaya. This Vallabha Sampradaya is actually a branch of Rudra Sampradaya, it seems. So this is similar to, we are in Brahma Sampradaya, but our whole Sampradaya is called Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, right? Like that, we are one branch of the whole original Brahma Sampradaya, like that. Like that, Vallabha Sampradaya is a branch of Rudra Sampradaya, it seems. That's what Prabhupada writes in the purport. And so, in the verse itself, we are hearing that Lord Chaitanya explained him the import of the holy name of Krishna. That this all should inspire us to look forward to reading the rest of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, nice pastimes like this, where Lord Chaitanya is personally teaching about the holy name, it seems. That must be so wonderful, hearing directly from Lord Chaitanya. In the purport, Prabhupada writes some pastime about Vallabhacharya. What he says is, Lord Chaitanya, one time he visited Vallabhacharya's home, it seems, which is on the other side of Prayaga, it seems, in a place called Adaila Grama. But then Vallabhacharya also visited Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when he is at Jagannath Puri, and he wanted to explain Vallabhacharya wrote a commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam, it seems. He wanted to explain that to Lord Chaitanya, it seems. That is the purpose of his visit. But Lord Chaitanya recognized that he was very proud of his writings, and he was considering himself superior to Sridhar Swami. So Lord Chaitanya did not like that. He actually corrected Vallabhacharya, it seems, telling him that Vaishnava should be always humble and follow in the footstep of his previous acharyas, predecessors, like that. That is one point. And then, so this pride in being superior to Sridhar Swami is not at all superior, not at all befitting a Vaishnava. Like that he told us. In the purport, this is not there, but I heard this from my speech master some time ago, that Lord Chaitanya considered Sridhar Swami as the foremost authority in writing commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam, it seems. And he even says anybody who else is writing commentary should definitely refer to Sridhar Swami commentary, and it should be in alignment with that, like that he told, it seems. So must be in this pastime. I'm looking forward to it. I didn't read that section yet, so must be in this pastime in Anta Lila. So we can look forward to that discussion. So now 264 is saying Lord Chaitanya sent Pradyumna Mishra, it seems, to meet Ramananda Rai. So after, first of all, he explained about Ramananda Rai's glorious transcendental qualities, it seems. Then only he sent him. So then Pradyumna Mishra learned Krishna Katha from Ramananda Rai. So this is another important principle for us also to learn. When we hear from somebody, and especially our spiritual master or devotees like that, then it's important for us to appreciate some of the qualities they have, appreciate some of the glories they have, some of the good qualities they have. Then what will happen is we'll develop some respect in our heart for them when we're hearing. Then it will go into straight into our heart like that. So that is why it's important for us to cultivate good qualities, including appreciation of devotees we are hearing from. So now 265 verse, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saved Gopinath Patnayaka, who is the younger brother of Ramananda Raya, it seems. Remember, Ramananda Raya and Swarup Damodara were very close associates of Lord Chaitanya. They were helping him uh, relish his rasa as Radharani mood, in the mood of Radharani, right? Like that, right? So his younger brother is Gopinath Patnayaka, it seems. So he was being punished with the death punishment by king, but Lord Chaitanya saved him, it seems. Actually, the detailed pastime will come later on. I remember some of it. Only some of the pastimes I know because I heard, but not everything they're describing here I know about the pastimes. So this pastime I know, so I'll mention a little bit. Basically, Gopinath Patnayaka was in charge to collect some taxes from people like that. And then he was supposed to keep some small commission and give it rest to king, it seems. But for some reason, this Gopinath Patnayaka did some cheating to keep a lot more money than he was supposed to keep like that. Then the king's son finds that out, and the king's son has there is detailed pastime that will come later on. Basically, king's son went to king and got him the punishment of death punishment, basically. Then devotees tell Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and somehow Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually externally he says, I don't want to see his face, I don't want to help him because he cheated like that. Lord Chaitanya is telling us that we should be always honest in our earning like that. But somehow king comes to know by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu mercy, and is saved from the death punishment finally, just before being executed like that. There is a brief pastime there. The essence is that we should always be honest in our dealings as the practice in devotee like that. That is the essential lesson for us. Then 266 verse is describing how there's a devotee called Ramachandra Puri who criticized Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's eating. And because of that, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu reduced his eating to very, very minimum, it seems. But when all the Vaishnavas became very, very sorry that Lord is not eating food at all, not much, then he increased to just half of the food that he used to eat before this instant, like that. So I know a little bit about this pastime also. This Ramachandra Puri is actually god brother of Lord Chaitanya's spiritual master, Ishwara Puri. And he used to serve, Ramachandra Puri used to serve his spiritual master Madhavendra Puri. But he had a fault finding mentality that he used to criticize his own spiritual master Madhavendra Puri also. At the final days, Madhavendra Puri used to chant about gopis. And he used to say, why are you chanting about gopis? Why don't you think about Krishna like that? He used to suggest to his spiritual master. So which is a no-no really. So he didn't understand the mood of the spiritual master. Like that, he has a fault-finding tendency. He used to find faults with all the devotees, it seems. So even with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he used to find fault saying that, oh, see, Lord Chaitanya is sannyasi, but he's eating so much food. Like that, he used to criticize, it seems. That's the incident being described here, where Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, instead of fighting back, and instead of doing anything like that, Lord Chaitanya took a humble position and corrected himself that he will eat less like that. So that's an example Lord Chaitanya is showing for us. When somebody blasphemes us personally, then we don't take it to the heart, and we don't rebel against them or anything like that. We try to see what can we improve like that. But when somebody blasphemes other devotees in Krishna, then we should not tolerate. We should act in some way. That's how scripture describes, and Lord Chaitanya's teaching is also like that. So now next verse is describing that there are people from all over the universe, 14 planet systems. They're coming by dressing like human beings, it seems, and come to see Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at Jagannath Puri, it seems. So now next verse describes that one day Srivas Thakur and other devotees of Lord Chaitanya, They were glorifying Lord Chaitanya, it seems. Then remember, this is one of the common theme that Lord Chaitanya never wanted to hear himself as Supreme Lord, never wanted to hear his glories like that. He always wanted everybody to chant the holy name of Krishna like that. So that is evident in this pastime now. So he says uh, he didn't like that. Lord Chaitanya didn't like that they're glorifying him. So he chastised him, saying that what kind of chanting is this? Are you leaving aside chanting of the holy name of the Lord? Like that he said. So he told them, never, he chastised all the devotees, saying, never show your impudence or become independent like that. Impudence means not showing due respect to another person like that. That means in this case, the respect is for Supreme Lord himself, like that. So he gave that instruction to them. And actually, okay, next verse. This was one, 271 verse has a purport. This is one of the couple of verses only that have purport. And 271 verse, Prabhupada is writing that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu warned all of us, all of his followers, not to become independent or impudent. Unfortunately, after Lord Chaitanya's disappearance, it seems, there are so many deviations came, so many apasampradayas came, according to Bhaktivinoda Thakur. What are the apasampradayas? That means they, uh, the proper understandings of scriptures and philosophy, they twist it for personal sense gratification usually. So in fact, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, they did a great job in destroying some of these apasampradayas like that and showing what is the bona fide teachings of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu like that. Some of the names are given in the purport of apasampradayas. All the names, many names are given. Aula, Baula, Kartabaja, Neda, Daravesa, Sani Sahajiya, Saki Bekhi, Smarta, Jata Gosani, Ativadi, Chudadhari, Gauranga Nagari, like that. So we have to be very careful when we don't know something. It's better not to share much, but instead of that, we should authoritatively not share anything, basically. Anything that we do not know. Instead, we should refer to whatever we understand from scriptures and from senior devotees that we can share, or Prabhupada, that we can share with others. Otherwise, we should not invent our own philosophy or speculated things like that in devotion service. That way, we'll protect ourselves and movement from going to wrong direction. So, like this, when the devotees were glorifying Lord Chaitanya, right? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was angry at them. That was inside the home that was happening. So then, suddenly everybody heard, there's a tumultuous voice. People are gathered outside. Thousands of people were gathered outside, and they're chanting, "All glories to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu! All glories to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the son of Maharaj Nanda." That means they're comparing him to Krishna. You appeared in order to deliver the whole world. Like that, they're glorifying him. So remember, inside is chastising. Now, how many people he can chastise? Now there are thousands of people like that. So they requested Lord Chaitanya to come appear and show his darshan, give them favor by showing his darshan like that. Then after hearing the humble petition, Lord Chaitanya's heart became softened and became very simple, and he came out and gave his darshan and audience to all of them, it seems. And then see what he did. Lord Chaitanya, because they're chanting his glories, right? Instead, Lord Chaitanya raised his arms and asked everyone to chant the holy name of Lord Hari instead. Then everybody chanted Hari, Hari, like that by raising their hands like that. This is another important principle, that we should not look for our own fame or glorification like that. We should have Lord Krishna, Lord Chaitanya, and our spiritual masters, our previous acharyas to be glorified. Still Prabhupada to glorify, not for our glory like that. So now 277. Everyone was happy after seeing Lord joyful, and they offered their prayer systems. So while they're offering prayers, Srivas Thakur was sarcastically commenting, "Now how can you chastise all of us not to chant glories? Now, uh, how come you expose yourself to outside now? How did these people come to know? What are they saying? Now you can cover their mouths with your hand, like that. He's sarcastically making comment. And he's saying that it's like sun after being risen wants to hide itself, which is not possible, right? After sun rises, only until sunset it will be visible to all of us. Nobody can hide sun like that. So similarly, we cannot understand your behavior like that. He is describing. Then Lord replied, "That's my dear Srivasa, please stop joking. You all together combine together to humiliate me in this way," like that is saying. Humiliate me means he doesn't like that glorification of himself like that. It's a good quality of practice in devotees we can also cultivate, that not expecting recognition, not expecting appreciation from us. In fact, that is one of the definitions of humility also, not wanting recognition. So now 282 verse, the Lord entered back to his home, it seems, after glancing at everybody auspiciously. So that way, everybody's desire got fulfilled. What was everybody's desire? They wanted to see Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and get the audience from him, right? So they were very happy. And then he's describing another pastime, very brief way though. This whole pastime itself can go on for an hour like that. We heard many of you might heard Chidadahi, Panihati festival or Chidadahi festival that we celebrate in our temple also. So that pastime, in one verse he describes basically. He says, Raghunadas Goswami approached Nityananda Prabhu. This was at Panihati. And then Nityananda Prabhu orders him feed all the Vaishnavas like that. So he gets a feast prepared with chipped rice and curd, like that is being described here. When you go to that pastime, we'll hear more about it. Like two variations were there: chipped rice with curd, chipped rice with milk or sweetened condensed milk also. Both two varieties are there at that time. One with curd, one with milk, like that. And of course, Prabhupada mentions the purport that this is a special preparation in Bengal, it seems, wherein chipped rice is mixed with curd and sometimes with sandesha and mango also, it seems. That's interesting. Sandesha, the sweet we normally eat, is offered in Mangalarti time to Krishna. So they mix the sandesha also in the food and also mango, it seems. And so Raghunadas Goswami was a householder at that time, and he took up this service of feeding all the Vaishnavas. Prabhupada is saying this festival is called Dadi Chida Prasada. Normally we call it Chidadahi festival, but Prabhupada is calling Dadi Chidaha Prasada like that. That's the festival name, festival of Dadi Chidaha Prasada. Now 284 was, so after getting the mercy of Lord Nityananda and all the Vaishnavas like this, right? That's when Raghunadas Goswami leaves home, finally, because he tried to leave home so many times, but it was not successful. But now, because of the blessings of Nityananda Prabhu and Vaishnavas, he was able to leave home and take shelter of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at Jagannath Puri. Then Lord received him and put him under the care of Swarup Damodara for spiritual enlightenment. This is another lesson for us. Sometimes our spiritual master will not always be there with us, and he is not accessible also so easily. But he sometimes tells us, you take guidance from this devotee, then we can take guidance from that devotee like that. So now 285 was, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stopped this Brahmananda Bharati, it seems, from the habit of wearing deer skin. I don't know the pastime of this, so we'll wait for hearing it whenever it comes later on. Then the Lord has enjoyed his pastimes continuously for 6 years. Remember, out of the 24 years in Antya Lila, first 6 years, this what he described so far is the first 6 years interaction with the devotees. Next 12 years actually is the final 12 years that will be described in the next chapter. So now here pastimes Lord performed during the last 12 years. Now he's telling that he's going to describe the last 12 years of the Antya Lila. Prabhupada writes a purport to this previous verse, 284 verse, not 286 verse only, this verse only, that actually Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami followed in the footsteps of Vyasadeva, it seems. How? Because Vyasadeva also summarizes Bhagavatam, it seems, in the 12th canto. I not gone to 12th canto yet, but I read in one of the purports only that Vyasadeva also summarizes, it seems. That's what is also following similar footsteps like that. So now finally he prays at the lotus feet of Rupa and Raghunadas Goswami, desiring their mercy to narrate the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Why is he doing like this every chapter like that? Because he understands only if you follow in the footsteps of six Goswamis, then only we'll be able to describe the past tense of Lord Chaitanya or Lord Krishna like that. That's why he's humbly begging for their mercy all the time like this. So we'll end here. Now we'll continue next session on description of the chapter 2, which will be the last 12 years of the Antya Lila of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We can pause here today. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Let's offer our obeisances to devotees. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kupasandubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha. Thank you so much, devotees. Hare Krishna.